Do you suffer with impulse control? Are you sure? Are you positive? Well, I knew you did. And me too. And that's why you're here for the 5 reasons you shouldn't back Creepy Little Man Looking in Your Window, the board game. No, that's not a strange woman who broke into your house and stole locks of your hair while you were asleep. That's not, oh no. S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the board game, that was it. The beautifully titled S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the board game has now raised over $1 million on GameFound. It's closing in on that $2 million bar, crossed 2 million Canadian, 1.8 million US. And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. And this is a series that I do anytime a board game campaign reaches over that $1 million bar on Kickstarter or GameFound or any crowdfunding campaign to try to provide the devil's advocate to your purchasing tendencies. We all have that little enabler inside of us, and most of them congregate on the Room and Board Discord. But I'm here to help save your wallets, or to make sure that this game is right for you and that you will be as excited when it arrives at your door as you are when you're clicking the back button right now. But don't do it right now. Wait until I'm done. So that's what this series is about. It's not about picking on the little guy. Awakened Realms is not the little guy. They're doing fine, as is GameFound. And I'm thrilled. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the game personally. Or rather, I'm not really excited about the game. I don't think there's any chance that I'll be purchasing it. And it's one of the only things that doesn't give me the allure of purchasing at this point in time. However, I do recognize that there are legitimate reasons to be excited about it. And I think for the right people, this will be the right game. For some people, it won't be the right game, and that's what I'm here for. For one, I've never heard of the video game, but I really enjoy video game IPs being turned into board games. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it means that if they're done well, we might have more potential gamers on our hands who are looking to scratch that board gaming itch as they get away from the screens and into our houses. Wait, no, now I'm starting to sound like the stalker. And that to me is always a good thing. I like when things grow the hobby, and I think Awakened Realms is potentially a really good company to produce this style of game. From what I've seen of the gameplay, and I've, absorbed as much of it as possible, that's what I try to do before making these videos, I think it really fits with Awakened Realms style, right? This sort of dystopian, post-apocalyptic, grimy future, the art and the darkness of it, I think it really suits Awakened Realms. The movement around, the wound system itself reminds me a little bit of Nemesis. And I think it's right for them to talk about their own quality. And they're showcasing all the other stuff that they've done. But more importantly, to talk about, I think this is actually a legitimate thing to talk about. You'll see here that their BGG ratings, they've gone for the thematic rating so that their numbers are higher. Because 457 doesn't seem as enticing as 44. Oh, sorry, better update your chart there, Awakened Realms. It's gone down. But I think this is significant when we're talking about S.T.A.L.K.E.R, because I think what this game really has going for it is the theme and the feeling of it. I often talk about how Steamforged are really known for IP-driven games and trying to capture that IP. And I also think Awakened Realms could fall into that category, and it's exciting to see them working with an existing IP rather than taking on their own stuff. I mean, they did it before with this War of Mine, and that turned out very well. But I think them highlighting their thematic numbers is actually a good bar and is probably one of the most relevant sections on this campaign page for a potential audience. Because I think the theme here is going to be the draw. I think the theme here is going to make or break the game. And it is the theme that is one of the driving forces behind my own excitement and my own interest in the game. Now, theme is different than story, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I really do believe that this is something that you should be excited about. And if this theme does excite you, and you want to stand tall, alone, lurking, killing, eating, running, well, this might be the game for you. Is that not what it stands for? But these videos always end up being long. You know I love Awakened Realms. At least you should. Awakened Realms is one of my favorite companies out there. I think the quality of stuff that they put forward is really exciting. I think their campaigns themselves are often very exciting because they often give their backers a choice to vote on different sculpts, different images, different concepts. And while that probably won't happen with this campaign, since it's bound to an IP and those things are naturally a little bit more scheduled, let's say, a little bit more thought out, a little bit more pre-planned, because you have to get approval from the studio that owns the licenses to all the art. I do think that Awaken Realms do Kickstarter campaigns in a way to both get you really excited and take you on a little bit of a journey, and also incite the FOMO like nobody's business. So I'm going to turn right ahead to the 5 reasons you shouldn't back, because that's what you're here for. And I always talk about the excitement portion way too long, and these videos end up being too long anyway. And this time I'm going to be quick and snappy and leave out a bunch of details so you think I'm a hack. And soon you'll be telling me to stalk her, or shut that annoying little kiss her, evil rube. Stalk her? I don't even know her. Okay, now that I've alienated all of you, let's get into the 5 reasons you shouldn't back. Starting out with number 5, and this one is going to be centered around the price. Often with these 5 reasons, I try to give some sort of outside factors combined with gameplay factors as well, to be both the devil's advocate, that little voice on your shoulder reminding you of the common sense that you've stuffed down into a little Kickstarter hole. That little piece of common sense that you've told yourself to stalk her. Stuff that away like Killmonger's emotions, right? But it is going to be about the price. And there's 2 sort of price points here that I felt myself being pulled into, even though I don't even really care about this game. I know I have a problem, and I know I'm not alone, thanks to all of you in the comments. But there's 2 reasons. Number 1, you followed along before the campaign begun, and you saved yourself $9 for this Monster Hunter pack. You could get this Monster Hunter character card and a little Monster Hunter mini, and it's not the Monster Hunter world, but that's a different thing. But this is something that I did. I did this. Now, I told myself that it was for YouTube, that I knew that this campaign would raise over $1 million. I needed to know when it was live, because I needed to start looking up stuff on the campaign page and getting my knowledge and getting ready to do this inevitable video. But that wasn't the reason in my heart of hearts. The reason was, oh, hey, if this is really good, well, then I'll have a cool little figure that I'll have saved $9. And I was like, yeah. And then now that I know that I've saved $9, now that I know I have this little insignificant figure, I am so much more inclined to purchase this game and look over its faults and not actually deep dive into it, but let the theme wash over me and say, yes, please, I'll have a second helping. The number 2, which is still part of this number 5, is also focused around price point, and that is this $95 price point. That's, for an Awaken Realms game, that is really good. Normally they've been sitting around $100 or $110 or sometimes $120. And so getting back down to that sub $100 US level feels really nice until you realize that they're just not showing you the taxes on this. They had incorporated the taxes before, and they thought, oh yeah, that makes the sticker price go up because people don't like remembering that they have to pay more money. People like seeing the $49.99 and thinking that they're not paying $50 for something. So let's implement that on GameFound and show you just the regular price. And you will still be charged for the taxes later on, but then you'll say, oh, it's just taxes, it's fine. Just like you've always said, oh, it's just shipping, it's fine, and haven't factored that into your actual cost. And so a combination of these 2 factors has made me sort of sit up in my chair and I think, go, oh, that's a good deal. That's a really good deal. And they kind of highlight this. They say, why should you back? Why back now? Get twice as much for the same money. And this is also likely true. Like, I don't want to be knocking Awaken Realms here, and I don't want to be providing you with misinformation. Their games will for sure be a little bit more expensive at retail. But by that time, you might know if you actually are going to like it or not, or if this was really just a flash in the pan. So I think that is worth highlighting and talking about and making notice, and not just because, oh, they're going to charge you tax, oh, VAT's not included. I mean, honestly, for those of you who are out there who take issue with VAT being included in price and feel like you're subsidizing somebody else's cost, this then should be an auto back for you on principle, because GameFound is no longer showing you how they incorporate that fee. They're saying, nope, everyone's going to have to pay their taxes separately, and so you need to purchase this or you can never complain about it again. So that might be a good thing for you, but it is just worth noting and talking and actually legitimately accepting the psychological impact that it makes on your buying decision. It certainly does for me. I'm speaking from personal experience that I didn't have any interest in this game. And by me following along and signing myself up for more marketing material, I now have some sort of buy-in, right? I've bought in a little bit. So reason number 4, we're going to get into gameplay now. Reason number 4, you shouldn't back Slappy Tickly Alice loves Kevin ever religiously. It's a lovely romance story. The reason number 4 is if you hate line of sight and dealing with line of sight. If I scroll over here, something, thank you, One Stop Co-op Shop, thank you. You'll see this board and you'll see all of these different spaces on the board. They're different shapes, different things will happen, but one of the core mechanisms in this game is going to be line of sight. It's a stealth game, right? You are going to actively have to avoid the line of sight of all of these different guards. Look at them. Look at all of them. In addition, let's just make this bigger. Thank you again, One Stop Co-op. In addition, these little squares on the inside of rooms, those could potentially spawn more guards. But you're going to have to manage the line of sight of all of these guards. And not just the line of sight in their forward direction, but also in their side directions. And also, each guard, each one of these nondescript, very similarly looking guards, has a different range of line of sight that you're going to have to be calculating, as One Stop Co-op Shop is going to show us right here. You see down here, it says range 3. This is the breakdown of a card. This is a breakdown of one of these minis, or which will be standees in the main pledge, the core pledge. They all have different effects. They show how much damage they do. They all have different sort of hit conditions. But I really want to focus on this line of sight because this is range 3. So if somebody has line of sight range 3, you just count 3 spaces in whatever direction, forward and to the side. That's not too complicated. But what is complicated is adjusting for all of this. And that's going to be a significant part of the game, right? This game builds itself as a stealth game, moving around. And so part of a stealth video game is tagging the guards and watching to see what their patterns are, and then finding out where the perfect location for you to go is. Now, I don't think that perfectly replicates itself here, and I'll get to a little bit more of that in a second. But to me personally, it feels like a lot of upkeep and a little bit clunky upkeep as you move every single person, as you have to track every space you move. You have to see, okay, am I within line of sight of this person? This person, no. Okay, we can keep on moving along my merry way. That is a core mechanic to this game. It's a core mechanic to this puzzle. And if that doesn't get you actively excited to play and to think, okay, yeah, I'm really going to have to plan my moves. I'm not going to move until I scope out the targets. And then every turn, I'm going to have to re-scope out their lines and their sections and then move through. And then also honor those sections too when you are moving, because there's no AI that's going to do it for you. You have to say, okay, I moved here. Can anybody see me? I'm like making my decision to move here. Oh, shoot, I can be seen. Okay, now I have to drop noise down here because somebody saw me. And so that's kind of represented by noise. Cool. And then I continue. All of these little things feel slightly cumbersome to me personally, but also necessary and integral to the gameplay. And if you're not interested in that planning, in that figuring out who's going to move where, who sees what, how to draw people's attention in a different direction, then you're not going to enjoy this game. You're just flat out not going to enjoy it, because that's going to be, I don't know, 30% of the game loop. I think 30% is a reasonable thing to say. 20%, I feel, will be our number 3, which is you want story in your games. Now, this is being billed as a campaign game. We can go back, although that was a very nice screen. S.T.A.L.K.E.R Universal models. You know there's going to be a model for each one of the stalkers. That's going to be an add-on later on. Is it one right now? No, it's going to be. We've got the anomalies, we've got the terrain. We're going to have more stalkers for sure. Anyway, that's not the point that I was making. Here we go. This section of the rewards section, the story section, says 30 to 36 hours of gameplay in the core box, 3 exciting story campaigns, around 10 to 12 hours each, 2 to 4 per each mission. So 3 missions, 4 missions in each campaign. I mean, if you're going at the 2 hours each, then this would be 5 missions. 3 scenario boxes, so 3 missions each. So it could be 6 to 12 hours of gameplay. maybe 6 to 12 hours if this 2 to 4 is accurate. Anyway, if you are looking for a campaign, and the words campaign games often make me run in fright with my tail between my legs, a slippery tail almost like kittens even remember. Well, usually that campaign indicates a focus on story. And I think this one does as well to a smaller extent. I think this boasts flavor rather than story. And I think this here, right, saying focusing on the story from what we've seen seems a little bit overblown, let's say. For me, the story personally was a bit underwhelming. And honestly, that's a point towards Stalker in my books. I don't want to know the story of my stalkers. I want to call the police and have them arrested. But the storytelling itself from this prototype looks incredibly choppy and unrefined. And sure, you can believe that Awakened Realms will develop it into something extraordinary, but I don't think it's ever meant to be an extraordinary story. That's not what this game is going to be providing. At the beginning of that one-stop co-op shop playthrough, you get a choice when you investigate a building. You get a choice if you can make a bunch of noise to attract people to a spot on the board, or listen to what the guards are telling you to. It's not really a choice. Everyone's going to listen to what the guards are telling them to do, especially since it is the card that is literally right beside the starting point and the only thing you can interact with at the beginning of the scenario, right? And in that story card, it says something along the lines of, better get that key. Oh no, they threw that key over there. It's annoying. And this is to replicate that feeling of the video game, right? Whenever you're wandering around, you're creeping around, you're overhearing the discussions, the scripted dialogue of the guards who are saying and giving clues to the characters that, hey, you need to sneak over here now because that's where the key is, and that's where you can get an item if you want to investigate there. That's where you get an item to achieve your goal, right? Hey, did you fix that lock yet? What lock? The one over by the south side of the gate, you idiot. I thought Doris was going to get to that. No, Doris got fired a week ago, you stupid, tough a-hole liking kisses, exiting radios. But it's my favorite song. Just get over there and fix it, right? Then it's indicated that you can go to that south side without interference. These are the things that it's replicating. These things don't make for a compelling story. Like, these things don't make for an overarching, exciting narrative. These things are flavor, right? Again, we're going back to that concept of theme. These things are used to build the theme and build the environment and the feeling of the environment, and not actually driving story. And I think that's a really important distinction to make, and a distinction to understand in your own gaming preferences, right? How much environment you actually enjoy in your games, if it's any, if these are going to detract from you, if you're going to care whatsoever. Because a lot of these things of moving around are, hey, go and interact with this thing. I think it's also worth recognizing that Awakened Realms team is not the best with story. I mean, I have Tainted Grail, and I have Etherfields, and I have Nemesis, although Nemesis doesn't really have any story elements to it. And I have been underwhelmed by the story. I find the story charming, but also corny. It's a stalker, a story that always looks killer entering reality. And then you enter reality and you actually see it for what it is. And this isn't meant to be super shady to Awakened Realms. It's just kind of a fact, right? Or at least that's been my personal experience. I haven't returned to Awakened Realms games for the story. I have returned because of the environment, because I'm interested in the feeling that it gives me. And so if you're coming hoping for an overarching story, you're coming hoping for like a big mystery, hoping for emotional moments, I really don't think you're going to get that with this. Although, to be fair, Awakened Realms did make The Last of Us, not The Last of Us, This War of Mine. I almost said The Walking Fed, because I'm thinking, every time I get to the E in Stalker, I think about eating. I have to stop for like 10 minutes. This War of Mine was really compelling with their story elements and their little events, but they also had a lot of source material to work with. And me being personally unfamiliar with the Stalker source material, but being fairly familiar with the video game genre, stealth genre, I guarantee it's more about that sort of environment and moments than really any compelling story. Anyway, let's move along to number 2, which is talking about stealth in general. And that is if you want a stealth game. Straight up, this isn't. It's not. It's not going to be a stealth game. And that's a bold statement to say, and I know. And it's going to be a partial stealth game. Let me be clear. Your characters are going to be squishy. Your characters aren't going to be able to tank a bunch of stuff. And I think that is by design. I think you are going to have to be aware of the guards because you can't just run through and mow them down like Zombicide. It's not Zombicide. But I also think with stealth games in particular, they don't translate that well to board games on their own. And so what I mean by that is most of the stealth games that I have played, there needs to be another aspect to it. Burn Cycle, for example, by Chip Theory Games, is a stealth game. You're creeping around, you're watching the guards, and the guards actually patrol in like a more meaningful way than just moving one space and then potentially turning around as they can do in Stalker. But with that, there's a lot of waiting around. And whereas waiting around might be fun in a video game, it's not fun in a board game. It isn't. You don't want to just sit at the board game and say, yeah, I move space, and then I watch the guards move, and I wait, and I watch the guards move as your counter, your day counter, your board game counter. There's some sort of time tracker that's pushing the game forward in it, is sort of ticking down as you waste your time. That's why in Burn Cycle they have this whole other separate board that honestly I wasn't a fan of because I didn't think it really supplemented the fun action that was happening on the main board, but I recognized its technical and mechanical purpose because it acts as something you can do while you're waiting. And so I think with Stalker, you have a similar issue that it isn't that fun to just wait and move around and read passages of story, especially if the story isn't going to support the weight of the game, which I don't think it is. What is fun, and it's a little saddening to me that I don't feel like you get to do it in this game. What I love in a stealth board game, let's take it back a bit. What I love in a stealth video game is the ability to isolate a target, sneak up behind them, do a stealth kill, leave no trace, and slowly whittle down everybody's defenses. That's what's really fun in playing a stealth game, because they never see you coming until they're all down, right? Like that's the feeling that we should be moving towards in this game. And instead, here it feels more like I'm either going to have to slip past people and figure out when they're going to not be looking in my way, or I have to figure out a way to draw their attention to a different part of a map and then run away, right? Noise is a pretty huge factor in this game. There are a bunch of noise tokens that you will consistently use, and that will determine the guard's movement, right? And so inherently, if you recognize that as a core mechanic, you'll realize that your currency, your actual playing pieces are not with the characters themselves, but with how they leave noise tokens behind. And that's the way you can manipulate the fabric of the board, right? Like even that pitch sounds a little exciting. Honestly, it sounds more exciting than the gameplay videos that I've watched. It feels like this game is encouraging you to fight because there are these dice rolls and there are these stats and there are these things that tell you how you kill people. And whenever you shoot your guns, which for some reason aren't silenced, even though you're playing a game called Stalker, I've yet to see a silenced pistol. I've yet to see a melee attack. Guess we're just not doing that. You're rolling dice and you're generating noise, right? And you're getting guards to come over and investigate that while you slip around behind them. It's the equivalent of my least favorite thing in stealth games, which is throwing a rock so that the guard looks the other way and then running up behind them and shooting them, right? I like observing their patterns, and I like that patience and that actual feeling of being a sexy, tough adventurer latching key endings on rings. Fine, I know I threw in a little O there, but some acronyms work that way. I swear they do. And so the game, it feels, pushes you. I was getting sidetracked with these story spin cards to let you take control of the story and give you choices of a this or that thing. And so I think when the game pushes you in that direction and sort of is guiding your hand, that's something to recognize, right? That's something to recognize that is the element outside of the pure stealth. And if that element seems cool to you, managing that noise and rolling dice, then sure, this might be the game for you. But for me, there's just something lacking in how those things interact, or at least from what I've seen, that doesn't convince me to pull the trigger and spend the amount of money. And that gets us to our number one reason not to back S.T.A.L.K.E.R. And I can't believe this is the number one reason, but I'm happy for it to be my number one reason because it has frustrated me over the last 2 days as I've waited for something to come out that's not someone else's content, and I can't. You should not back S.T.A.L.K.E.R. right now because you have not done your due diligence towards the game. And I know you haven't done your due diligence because I've been incapable of doing my due diligence to even look into this game because Awakened Realms has not done their due diligence in giving you access to rulebook or even the bare minimum on a campaign page, which is a how to play section. If you look on these sections over here, which are above my head, and I'm going to move myself actually so you can see, over on the side here, we've got, oh yeah, project story, we got rewards, stretch goals makes sense, add-ons makes sense, a little note about the stretch pay, cool. And then, okay, then we got more stretch goals, which we already knew about, but we want to just highlight them. Okay, now we got more minis to highlight, which if you want to pay another $70, you can get a bunch of minis, which honestly, as far as Awakened Realms minis usability goes, these are probably going to be used the most out of all the minis that they make for their games that don't matter, that replace standees. So fair play to them. You still probably don't need them. Okay, then we have some reviews, which we have 6 videos, some paid previews, and then we have another highlight of this $200 collector's item that you can just get a big friggin' diorama and, you know, showcasing it. Cool. More stuff to buy. Great. Proving that Awakened Realms is a good company. Proving that Awakened Realms is a good company. Information on shipping, which is great. I mean, it's great that there's information with a single wave and a split wave if you want to get it January 2025, so 2 years from now. But still, for a heavy box, you know, it's not great, but it's not the worst it could be. And then a little bit more about us, and then some refunds and cancellations, and then other projects. You know what it doesn't tell you? It doesn't tell you any information of how to play the game. Yeah, and I had to, this is the first time I've had to bleep myself on a 5 reasons because it's so infuriating to me, and it's so ridiculous in this day and age of crowdfunding. With a company that has so much experience in crowdfunding, with a company that is arguably like one of my favorite companies out there, the fact that they don't even have a section dedicated to giving you the bullet points of how to play. Like Awakened Realms, they generally don't put their rulebooks out, which is frustrating to me since I enjoy reading the rulebooks, or at least reading what they have, and parsing my way through their unintelligible rulebook, as they often are at this stage in the game, to figure out the inner workings, because then I can understand a game a little bit more, rather than, ooh, look at these pretty pictures. Like, they're friggin' pretty. We get it. We understand. But it's absolutely unacceptable at this point in time to not even have a how to play and to leave all of that onus on your reviews, which, let's be honest, most of these are playthroughs, so most of these are going to be over an hour, which means most of the people who are on this campaign page aren't going to friggin' look at them. Yeah, that's the image of most people when they see an hour-long video, which is why my videos are always over an hour, so that they're not scared and they come back. It's, you know, they go through that part of it. No! Give me the bullet points! And the fact that there isn't even a friggin' some modes of like, oh, this is how you kind of play. All that they're telling you is you're going to get a bunch of stuff, they're giving you a bunch of promises, but they're not actually showing you how they're going to deliver on those promises. And hey, you know what? I think Awakened Realms will deliver on most of those promises. But I also think Awakened Realms are really good at marketing, and they're good at making you feel like you're getting a lot of value without actually telling you what that value means. Oh, that's great. I got BTR components in my zone survival games. Great. How do the zone survivals work? Don't know. What is the BTR's real emphasis on the game? Who cares? How often will it come up in the sea of items? No idea to tell what that means. There is so many unknowns here, and thank God to the reviewers who I've been able to kind of look through and get a sense of what this game is about. But the fact that you're having to take a interpretation of the rules of these people who are doing their best to just play and have fun and experience the game rather than actually giving you the meat and potatoes, or even giving you just a brief breakdown of what the round structure is on their campaign page. This is unacceptable at this point in time, and in no way should you throw down your hard-earned money on this lack of a promise, because generally what this indicates to me is that Awaken Realms knows they don't have to show you what the product is. They just have to show you what you're getting. They don't have to show you the actual experience they're going to be giving you. They just have to layer the theme and hope that that is going to be good enough. And for me, it's not good enough. Like, I'm fired up about this, and I'm disappointed in Awaken Realms in a way that I have not been before. Normally, these 5 reasons you shouldn't back are tough for me. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna probably read through the rules, and I'm probably gonna find some cool things about it. But you know what I didn't have to find this time? Cool things about it, because there's friggin' nothing. Here's a rules components question. Please post all your rules and component questions in our update. Like, unless I have missed it, and I don't know how I would have missed it, like, I'm very fearful, especially after that tirade, that I've missed it. Like, here, this seems like it is a telling you something that happens in the game, but all it's saying is that, hey, don't worry, opponents who interact with each other will constantly surprise you, providing twists and exciting gameplay moments. What are those twists? How do they interact? What are those exciting moments? Meeting him will be a true challenge. Killing his individual opponents has little impact. Okay, like, these are just, I don't know how people are giving their feedback. And there's no reason not to, as I'll go through the updates again to make sure that I didn't friggin' miss anything. Like, please somebody tell me that I've missed something. Please tell me that this first point doesn't hold water at all, because that is what I hope for. Please tell me that my friggin' rule, phrase not found. That's not good. But at least we have a giant friggin' $200 diorama, so, you know, we really have our priorities straight here. And there's really no excuse, because in the playthrough that I've watched, thanks again to everybody who did make one and who has had access to the game, there's reference to being emailed a PDF of the rules, so it's not like it doesn't exist. Here we go. Other pages, details will be revealed later. Rules, basic rules, full rules. Why is this being revealed later? Why is this not being revealed near the beginning of a campaign, right? Like, so they have designs for it to be revealed, but that's also fine. How has this raised $2.5 million Canadian? On the backs of what? On the backs of mechanics? On the backs of actual gameplay experience? Or on the backs of excitement and the IP and shiny toys always looking killer, especially right now. S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the board game. It frustrates me. It frustrates me because I know that people are going to get this game and they're going to go, why the heck did I buy this? You know, that people are going to get this game and they're going to think, oh yeah, no, this isn't for me. And I think, again, like, this series isn't to pick on the little guy. This series is to have a informed discussion and in-depth look and detailed look at the actual game and the gameplay behind it. But it's really friggin' hard to do that when you aren't showing me the gameplay behind it. So what else am I supposed to do as the number one? I wish it could be gameplay related, but for now it absolutely isn't. And I think all of those factors of combining in the ambiance, the prices, the buy-in, the personal buy-in, and incentive to purchase early is what's driven the price up and created this sense of hype, which creates a sense of FOMO and makes people jump on impulsively when it's better if they didn't. There you go. Those are the 5 reasons you shouldn't back S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Those are my 5 reasons. As you can see, I'm currently not interested. I'll cover it again when it hits its last week of funding in my crowdfunding countdown, in my Monday video where I look at everything leaving Kickstarter in that week and read through the rule books and actually try to isolate what are the fun and interesting mechanics that I can see, instead of just watching other people play through a pre-built scenario designed to show off the game at its best and not actually necessarily represent the full experience, right? Anyway, those are my 5 reasons. Let me know in the comments, what are your reasons for backing or against backing? I'm very curious. I'm actually really curious about this one because there is so much less information for me to access by myself than usual. So I'm really interested in your feedback. Let me know if I've missed anything, of course, or let me know why you're also not backing. I like these comment sections to be a place where people can share their thoughts and have a good grouping of people sharing constructive thoughts one way or the other, right? Again, I don't care if you get the game. I hope you do, but if you do, I hope that you love it. That's what I want for you. I want this to be your next favorite game. If this is going to be the next favorite game, if this is going to be your game, if you're going to say, yeah, this is so friggin' cool, I love this, I've exploded in joy for the board gaming hobby, that's what I want, right? I'm also, I think, a bit frustrated because I don't know if I'm interpreting everything as correctly as I could be if I was reading through the rulebook. So hopefully that's out by when I'm doing my Monday video. Stay tuned for that. If you're still here, hit the like and subscribe button if you wouldn't mind. It would really help me out a bunch. I swear I'm a nice guy who only cares about your best interests. So if you want that sort of positive energy in your life, then yeah, like and subscribe. If you don't, well, you've already left, so I guess I'll have to track you down some other way. I guess I'll just have to find everyone who left before this time right now. How will I find them? Stealthily, tactically, adult-like, kookily, enthusiastically, and honestly repulsively. I recognize that's my general. The R is always capitalized. Now I've realized what it is. Don't be a stalker. Be a Chris. A cool head resisting impulse smash. Thanks everybody for watching. My name's Chris George, and I do not have a catchphrase, but you've seen what happens when I don't have a rule book. You've seen how angry I get, and I hope I never have to get this angry ever again. Anyway, have a wonderful day, and I'll be watching. I'll be watching. I wanted to leave this for a very long time. I really wanted to give you 10 minutes of me just staring at the camera, but I think I'll leave that one. I'll leave that for another video. The extended cut. We'll keep that on the extended cut on the next one. See you when I see ya.